I remember the December it happened, as clearly as if it were yesterday. The village of Ebu was alive with laughter, music, and the sweet scent of roasted meat wafting through the air. Every December, our sons and daughters who had left for the big cities returned, their pockets full and their spirits high. They came in gleaming cars, their clothes bright like the morning sun, and they carried gifts. Oh, so many gifts. The elders sat in their meeting squares, nodding in approval at how well our children had done. But not all had been so lucky. One of those less fortunate was Nonso. He had grown up with the rest of us, a fine young man with a face as smooth as river stones. His family name carried weight, but their wealth had faded over time, leaving him with little more than pride. While his age mates returned home in fine garments, tossing money into the air, Nonso walked barefoot, his head lowered against their mocking laughter. I recall the night it all changed for him. He had stood outside his mother's hut, staring at the flickering oil lamp inside, his fists clenched as he whispered to himself, "Next Christmas, they will bow before me." It was a vow, spoken into the night, carried away by the cold Hamatan wind. Rumors of the chairman had been around for years. Some said he was not a man at all, but a spirit who walked among us, taking what he wished in exchange for power. His mansion stood alone, on the outskirts of Ebu, shrouded by towering trees that swayed like ghostly figures in the night. Nonso, driven by desperation, climbed that lonely hill. What was said in that house, only he and the chairman knew. But when he returned, something in him had changed. He walked with a new purpose, his eyes gleaming with a fire we had never seen before. And then, the gifts started coming. That Christmas, Nonso returned like a king. He came in a black car that gleamed under the sun, his clothes crisp, his pockets full. He walked through the village square, tossing coins to children and handing out parcels wrapped in golden paper. Mothers blessed him. Elders called him son of the soil, and children danced around him with uncontained joy. But then the sickness came. It started with a child from Kingsfield Primary School, a young girl named Adaora, full of life, who had eaten the biscuits Nonso had given. By nightfall, she was writhing in pain, her small body convulsing as her mother wailed for the gods to have mercy. She was the first, but not the last. By the time the moon had risen high, more children fell ill. Some simply never woke up. Panic spread like wildfire. Families gathered in mourning, their cries echoing through the village. The elders convened, seeking answers, and whispers of curses and dark rituals filled the air. It was an old woman, Mama Chibuzo, who finally spoke the words that sent chills down our spines. "It is him," she said, her frail hands pointing toward Nonso's mansion. "That boy who came from nothing and suddenly has everything. He has brought darkness upon us." At first, people dismissed her, but then the dreams started. Parents spoke of shadows creeping into their homes, of cold whispers in the night, and the children who survived spoke too. They told of a man with kind eyes and a dangerous smile, handing them food that smelled strange, food that made their bellies ache. The town turned on Nonso. He tried to run, but there was nowhere to hide. We found him in his mansion, surrounded by riches that suddenly meant nothing. He fell to his knees, his hands trembling, and then he spoke the words none of us wanted to hear. It was the chairman, he confessed, his voice breaking. He gave me the powder. He said, "I must offer something in return." I didn't know it would be like this. Rage filled the hearts of the parents who had buried their children. The people dragged Nonso to the village square, where judgment awaited him. His wealth, his fine clothes, none of it mattered anymore. The elders decreed that he would face justice, but the people of Ebu wanted more than justice. They wanted to end the curse. That night, we marched to the chairman's mansion. The air was thick with the scent of burning torches as we stormed the hill. But when we reached the house, it was empty. The great door stood open, the rooms eerily silent. In the center of the hall was a shrine, its altar adorned with symbols none of us understood. A great wooden snake curled around it, its eyes gleaming in the dim light. We burned it all. Flames licked at the sky, and as the shrine crumbled to ash, the air seemed to shift, as though something dark had lifted. The village of Ebu would never be the same, but we had taken back our peace. As for Nonso, he never spoke another word. The elders decreed that he be exiled, his name wiped from the lips of our people. He walked out of the village with nothing, the very fate he had feared most. Now, every December, as the Harmattan winds blow and our sons and daughters return with gifts, we remember. We whisper warnings to our children, telling them that not all gifts come from kindness. Some are laced with curses, wrapped in greed. And somewhere, in the darkness, the chairman still watches, waiting for the next desperate soul to knock on his door.